1997 Dodge Ram 1500. It's extended cab Laramie package. Had trouble with the brakes. This is what I found. Not just the brakes, brake lights, turn signals, parking lights, backup lights, even license plate lights. So what do you think it is? It's the ground. You know it is. It's the only thing they all have in common. So let's find out what the heck. Okay, YouTube. This video is on what to do if you have a Dodge pickup truck. Mine's a 1997 1500 Ram. Anyway, one day all my brake lights went out. The tail lights went out, the hazard lights went out, everything went out. I did have a very dim tail light on both sides, but very, very dim. And when you put the hazard lights or the blinker lights, they would both blink, which was very strange. But anyway, it had to be something that was connected to all the bulbs. They all have their own separate power wire and their own separate ground wire on each bulb. So the only thing that was connecting all the lights together was the ground. And of course I went through the wiring harness at the back side, found out I didn't have a ground to some of the lights and I had a tiny ground to others. So what I did was I took the wiring harness apart and this is what I found. Okay, that's what I took off those wires. I didn't cut it off. It came off. I don't know if you can see that, but there's the end of the wire sticking out. It looked nice and shiny pink, and I thought, well, I got some good wire in there. But as I was trying to unwrap it, I just tried to pull the Band-Aid off, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a Band-Aid. The guy didn't have black tape, rubber tape, so he put a Band-Aid on it. Excuse me. Yeah, he put a Band-Aid on that, stuck those wires side by side and wrapped it with a Band-Aid. This is the guy who put on that trailer hitch, or the light, trailer light assembly. I'm sure it was paid for. Maybe the homeowner did it themselves. I don't know, but that's crazy. Anyway, I didn't cut it off. They came apart from each other. Look at the green shit on there. Excuse my French. That's what's left of that. You can see the corrosion. Band-Aid wrap. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the ends together. And then I'm going to wrap it up with black tape. I think that should be good enough. I have some wire ties or some wire nuts I could put on it, but I think that's overkill. Man, look at that shit. I have to cut that off. Cut them all off. They've all got a little bit of green crap on the end of it. I'll just put them all together. Well, there's a big one that goes right to the trailer, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Might as well. Look at the corrosion. Should I even bother? Clean the corrosion off. I guess that's part of the plastic. It probably got hot. Melted on there. Clean it off. Got a little bit of crap on them, that's for sure. I'm telling how long I've had this trouble. I don't really drive it around at night much. I have a work vehicle I drive in the daytime. This just goes out on Saturdays when I go to the swap meet or Harbor Freight. But I guess I'm going to have to start paying more attention, because that could have been a disaster. Somebody come up behind me, I didn't have brake lights on, or driving at night I didn't have any lights on. I did have headlights. That's one good thing. It helped me diagnose the problem a little bit. If I had it in the front end, had nothing in the rear end. But it's kind of freaked me out a little bit. Some lights would have a little bit of power and some lights didn't. So kind of a weird deal, but predictable if you hook it up the way this guy did. Thanks to whoever it was that hooked this up. I really appreciate it. But maybe this will help somebody else out there, and maybe keep them from having to spend a few hours diagnosing the problem. Maybe save them a few hours of diagnostic when you can just go and find where the grounds are and then trace your problem backwards. That's really the best way to do it anyhow. Alright, that's what it looks like. I guess you can see it. So the next step is to solder, and then I'll wrap it up with tape. One tech tip, don't be right up underneath it when you're trying to solder, because it doesn't feel good when it drips on you. Drip on your face or your arm or wherever. I want to get the wire hot a little bit. I might have to take off that tip. Tin it a little bit, rub it on there, let it soak in. Rub it back and forth. I'll put the fire to it when I get done here just to make sure. Alright. Just wanted to get some on there before I put the flame to it. Makes it a little bit easier. It'll melt in a lot faster. Alright, let me shut that off. Alright, you don't want to burn the insulation, but sometimes that can't be helped. Careful not to aim the torch at your other wires, because you sure don't want to burn the insulation off those guys. Ground wire, I don't really worry about that much. Okay, there we go. We got it good. It's spread out pretty. Ow! Darn it. It's exactly what I was talking about. You don't want to get that on your arm. Luckily it wasn't too bad. But I think that's plenty of solder on that connection. Let's shut this off, take a look at it. Yep, got a pretty good solder burn. You guys get a kick out of that. There you go. I don't know how well you can see it on my old wrinkly skin, but it's there and it's hurting. Anyway, lesson learned. Keep out from underneath it. Right. Let me turn this thing around. What's going on here? Yep, working on the truck. Yeah, she's helping with the brakes. Yeah, we got electrical problems, don't we? We got to fix them. We're going to fix them, aren't we? Okay, bye-bye. Wave bye to everybody. Okay, after putting all those wires back together, come to find out that there's more to the story. I put them back together. I had brake lights, but same problem with when I turned on the lights, nothing worked right. Didn't have brake lights when I turned on the lights. So this is what I found. Farther up into the loom, there was a connection. I guess the Band-Aid must have been for the whole connection. It evidently broke off of itself. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, there's more of that Band-Aid connection. Looks like a couple of ground wires, big thick ground wires, that at one time they had taken all these wires, spliced into it, stuck them all side by side and wrapped it up and called it good. So that's the rest of the story right there. That's where the problem is. So I guess I got to connect it back up and see what happens. Okay guys, I finally found the problem. What I thought was just a few wires that had come apart from each other because of corrosion was actually a wire that had been split in two in the loom farther on down. So what he did with that Band-Aid was he spliced a little bit on that ground wire coming in and then put these other wires right next to it. Of course there's one less wire now because I took the trailer lights off, because I'm not going to have that. If I want a trailer, I'll hook in another. And that's not the best fix, but that's the fix I can make right now. I soldered this connection because it was short, soldered it and put the cap on, and I just put the cap on these. I'll solder it back together when I make a good connection, but for right now, to get me on down the road, that's good enough. But anyway, if you got a Dodge Ram 1500 with a tow package, and I don't know if it was done at the dealer or at the factory, but and you got a problem with your brakes or brake lights, you check this shit. All right, back together. I disconnected that damn trailer. Let the other guy mess with it when I die. Wrapped it up so it wouldn't get wet, and I'll get to it later. But for now, works pretty good. Leaving those things disconnected.